right. We should be up and running here. I'll give it just an extra second here to get streaming and caught up with the other platform. We got about, no, looks like we just closed, so we'll get to take a look at the final numbers here. Yeah, we just closed just now. Let's go ahead and get started. Good afternoon. This is Ifan from the Strategic Day Trader, and this is your market wrap for September 23rd, 2021. Qs up 0.92, SPY up 1.2, and then IWM up the most 1.77. All right. Now, this week, the expectation was that we would get some kind of lower high and potentially weaken into the end of the week. Now, here we are with only one day left in the week, and we are clearly not weakening. Okay, so what my expectation was, you can see, is not panning out, right? So I was thinking, okay, we get some kind of move back up after we finished up on Monday because we gotten extended. And what I was looking for was, as we get to this declining 20, for us to trigger the bearish bias back lower. So, right, coming into Tuesday, I said expecting a neutral day. Okay, we got that, pretty neutral. Then going into Wednesday, I said, okay, if we trigger underneath 365.60 on the Qs, we'll be back to bearish. That didn't happen. And instead what we got was kind of the continuation of the rally that happened on Monday afternoon. Now, if you remember on Monday, I said probably the most difficult thing to happen from here would be if we just rally back up and then close the gap. Now, I was kind of thinking about, maybe it's tomorrow or, over the next day or two. Really, it ended up happening over the last 3 days. Well, there you go. So that I thought would be kind of the toughest scenario for us to have a bias on the market, and that's ended up what ended up happening here. It ended up happening kind of at a slower rate than I anticipated, but the good thing is it didn't trigger our bias lower, which is fine, and then just kind of kept on going up. So I mean, that's fine. It's not as clearly like I was wrong about what was going to happen, but don't really need the market to do anything. What I'm doing is just making the best kind of assessment of what the price action is and what we're going to get in the days to come. And so we never really got a nice pivot to roll over, and then we've kind of just been moving up. Now on the SPY here, we have a little bit nicer of a pivot to work with. So what does this pivot mean in this context? This means that if we come in, or even tomorrow morning, we actually, go right back up. Once we take out this pivot, you can't be bearish anymore. It's going to be back to bullish, okay? Because you can see the hourly is now ended this downtrend, okay? And then the IWM, in fact, is bullish because the hourly on the IWM, you can see taking out previous area of resistance on a pullback is actually viable. Okay, so that's a buyable opportunity. Okay, so impressive recovery there from the Qs in the SPY and the IWM, especially moving back up. We were looking like maybe want to roll over, test the next area of support, but has been able to move back up. So next pullback on the IWM is buyable. The only other thing I think to note here on the Qs and SPY is the potential for a daily sell setup. A daily sell setup would just be a retracement play. We'll take a look at the HUS later, and I'll point out kind of how the sell setup is formed. Okay, so a series in the context of a downtrend, a series of higher lows, you create the pivot and then roll over from there. Okay, so that's the only thing we want to be on the lookout for. So what would that look like on the hourly? Because the hourly is what we like to look at kind of as a faster moving indicator for what the daily is going to do. Is if the Qs move down first and then try to move up and then fail without taking out today's high. That's what if we get that, then we'll have a sell setup in place in the Qs and SPY, because that'll be price action inside of this bar here, okay? And then it'll put in, and then a break below whatever bar forms tomorrow or Monday, or yeah, tomorrow and Monday inside of this bar underneath those bars. Okay. So if we get a daily sell setup, that could lead to the next move lower, but right now we're looking a lot more bullish. Okay. So we know what it would take for us to turn back to bearish. We know where, to turn bullish. And just like I was yesterday and the same as today, I was neutral because, we'd kind of gotten that pattern that I said, okay, this is going to be trickier on the market if we just kind of go back up and erase the gap. So it was kind of in a wait and see mode. Well, what have we seen? A lot of bullishness, right, from the Qs and SPY. Okay, all right, let's go over today's plays. Starting with the LAUR. LAUR gapping up, kind of creating a little buy setup there with that gap up, and then setting up a nice base breakout here. Now, I liked the initial base breakout a lot more. It just didn't trigger. So this I liked. Very clean, tight bars. So that was actually the first play that was called. Didn't trigger. Didn't take out the top. Okay, fine. I thought, okay, we're not going to get another play. And then it started to base again. Now, you can see how much sloppier the price action is here versus here. These bars, a lot tighter range. I like that a lot more. But I decided let's play it anyway. Off the 2 minute there, that's good. I don't really have too many problems with this except the sloppiness. Okay, broke out right there. Did not give us enough for a good target, okay, on this pop. And I got a little bit of slippage getting in. I think if you were tight, you might have even got skipped entirely because that was a pretty big pop right off the bat. I liked it a lot. What got really tricky about this is we didn't get to target. I was looking us to retest the previous daily high, and then we didn't really get a trail either. Now you can trail underneath this bar, but it's not going to make that much of a difference because our stop's down here anyway. Okay, so the LAUR took a really long time to finally fail on that breakout. Okay, so finally, we're out, fine. And then there were no more plays. And then I got an interesting question, which, I totally get the mentality. It's just as traders, sometimes we get into this approach. Someone asked, well, can I short it now? I think it was already at, like 63 or something. Can I short it now? That's actually why it's highlighted. I said, I don't have a strategy for this. I don't have a play for this. If you do, and they were saying, well, there's like topping tails and stuff. That's bearish. I said, okay, fine. But that's not enough for me to just, jump in short. And so you want to be careful when you take a play, it has a strategy, has a pattern. In this case, it's a pro gap and a breakout. You don't want to just be kind of flipping back and forth saying, well, if it's not going to go up, then it's got to go down. Right. And that's what I was trying to kind of get at. It's like, these kind of, once you get into that kind of mentality, you'd be surprised how you can also lose money on something playing it long and short in the same day. So when they're saying, can I short it? It's like, if you want, it's not my kind of play. Well, what would have happened? Maybe you short it and then goes right back up, right? Let's go to the 5 minute here. Okay. So yeah, maybe you short it and then, moves back up. I don't know where you put the stop, maybe the topping tail. Okay. It goes back up. Okay. And hopefully, at this point, if you're doing this kind of stuff and you've already started down this slippery slope, like I want to make money on this symbol one way or another, whether it's long or short, I don't care. I'm just going to make money somehow. Hopefully you're not trying to short it, getting out of it, out of the short and then saying, okay, well, now I'm going to go long. Because, that's the kind of stuff. And then you look back at all this stuff and you're like, what am I doing? What is the strategy here? What is the plan? Right? Or am I just chasing? Okay. So that's what you want to be careful about because, I think, we've all been there, especially, starting out, you're not too as sure about what your strategies are. So you might just end up playing something short and then long and then try and maybe short it again. And, before you know it, you've got all these little paper cuts that have added up as you've tried to kind of get in and out and just make some money on this. For me, I had the play didn't get to our target and then never set up again. There's no time frame alignment at any point after this. The uptrend that it had from the morning, from the gap is over. So hands off, right? There's no play. I don't have to make money on this LAUR today, right? It's not the only symbol out there, right? Okay, so that was the LAUR. Tried it, didn't work, ended up being a breakout failure there. Then in the afternoon, gave you the ATUS. Okay, ATUS. So here's what I mean by sell sub. You see how the move came in, higher low, higher low, higher low, and then without ending any kind of downtrend here, produces a lower high there and then rolls back over. Okay, so here it is on the 5 because that's primarily what this was played off of. 20 MA catches up and we get a nice base here. Okay, it worked really, really well. I was done with it, I think, around 23, so I missed actually most of the move on this one because I didn't know I didn't have anywhere else to trail this really when this came in. So yeah, this is where I got out the whole thing right there. So we got nice follow through. We broke the lows. And so over the 2 minute was the back half. So I was out of it at that point. And it went right back in. Could I have gotten back in? Yeah, maybe. I didn't really see a lot of good entries. And of course, it's just natural. I wish I had stuck with it or at least, decided I want to hold a runner. It didn't really give me a good place to trail. So that's going to happen sometimes. So you just kind of have to make the call. Am I willing to live through a pullback for the bigger move? And in this case, I decided I wasn't going to, and the bigger move happened. So overall, still a nice play, but obviously could have been a monster play on the ATUS. And as a long, I think we made a little bit on this. Sammy called it as a climactic long, made a little bit, but yeah, definitely could have managed the short a little bit better or a lot better. Because I think I only got like 30% of the move. So yeah, that was really nice. And look at this daily. So of course, super weak on the ATUS, which is why I wanted to play it. Relative weakness, no support really below. So yeah, glad we caught it, but wish I'd managed better. Some people in the room did a lot better than I did on the management, and that's really good to see, right? Because I don't ever pretend to say, okay, my management's the best. You got to do what I'm doing. They're really meant to show you, okay, this is an example. This is how I do it, one way of doing it. But it was nice to see some people held for bigger targets. Okay. All right, guys. Hope you did well today. We'll be back at it tomorrow. And I will talk to you then. Have a good evening.